Karl Rove is still very optimistic that Donald Trump will not be the nominee. Now, obviously, it seems like with every indictment, his numbers go up, his fundraising goes up. Ron DeSantis, as I predicted and many has predicted, it's hard when you don't like people to be an effective candidate. So I don't think he's going to go very far. You have Vivek, you've got a lot of other candidates running, but do you see any way that Trump will not get the nomination? And even though you said you would vote for him, I don't think he's your first choice. So who would you like to see?
Well, I'm going to see Karl Rove next week at an event, so I can ask him about this. And if you have, and I think you probably saw him recently too, but I think for me, I really like Tim Scott. I really like Vivek. Those are probably my two favorites. But yes, I would vote for Trump if he is the nominee. I think what's really interesting is that you have Barack Obama recently having lunch with Joe Biden and saying that Trump is a very formidable candidate against the incumbent president, and that, Barack Obama's scared about it. So that's, I think, part of why the GOP sees the durability of Trump, that for a lot of people, the indictments are actually, from their perspective, if the roles were reversed, playing, the movie in a different direction, if it was incumbent President Trump trying to, or his DOJ overseeing the arraignment of Hillary Clinton and the charging and potentially throwing her in prison. And I know we've had debates about her charges versus things that Trump did. But the reality is that for tens of millions of people, you can't dismiss how troubling that is, that the incumbent president wants to imprison his chief political rival. That just sits wrong with a lot of people, including Vivek. He's called it a banana republic move. So I know you don't like it, Dave, but
No, Carrie, Donald Trump said 2 weeks before the election, he asked his Department of Justice to arrest Joe Biden. So this is another one of these ridiculous false equivalencies that you Trumpsters keep putting forward. And to compare Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump is just ridiculous. I mean, we're talking 78 felony counts. And what's so frustrating for me is you look at someone like Kevin McCarthy, who after January 6th admitted exactly what the president did. He knew Trump was responsible for it. He knew he incited it. And now he's going against it. He's saying, oh, this is just the weaponization. So, first these guys attack, thanks to Trump, the integrity of our elections. And now they're going after the integrity of our judicial system, which is the last system, really the last reputable system that we have, which is already, thanks to the Supreme Court, not in the best reputational shape that it's been in. So it's just so disappointing. And they're doing it to defend this disgraceful man. Obviously, the reason is that they're not scared of Donald Trump. They're scared of his voters. And there are these people in the base that are blindly loyal to Trump. And look, I've been one who said, and David Brooks just wrote a great column about this, a lot of these people in Washington try to blame the Trumpsters. Oh, they're bigots, they're racist. Well, you look at our so-called meritocratic system, and whether it's, the Vietnam War, people from high school that were working class went into service and many were killed, whereas the wealthy people got deferments. Or busing in Boston, the working class neighborhoods got busing, but the elite neighborhoods didn't. So there's a lot of blame to go around here. And again, I've always said is whatever you think of Trump, he's the symptom. He's not the problem. It's populism that created Donald Trump. But putting all that aside, to see people like Kevin McCarthy just sell out their own country is really nauseating. I'll give you the last word. That's such BS. That was the one time. The rest of the speech was antagonistic, and he was building them up beforehand. And talk to people in January 6th who are in prison. They'll say, oh, I did it for the president. I did it because Trump wanted me to. So I don't know why you keep trying to excuse January 6th or Donald Trump from January 6th, because not even Republicans are doing that anymore.
Well, I think it's problematic because it's basically like, for example, should we blame billions of dollars in property damage, dozens of lives during the rioting for BLM in the summer of 2020? Dozens of people died. You had David Dorn in St. Louis. He was moonlighting, guarding his friend's pawn shop. By day, he was a cop. He was murdered during this rioting, when you had people looting and destroying these businesses in the chaos. Should we blame people like Kamala Harris who bailed out those BLM rioters? Should we blame Bernie Sanders for his rhetoric on class warfare? Should we blame? I just think that it's you're getting into First Amendment territory, and that's really where I think the crux of this case is going to lie. And so we'll just have to see.
Well, again, that gets to compare BLM to January 6th goes so far past the false equivalency that it's a false non-equivalency. Look, BLM is not an honorable organization, and there was no excuse for those rioters. But this was not an attack on our democracy. This is not trying to overturn a free and fair election. I mean, the two are not even in the same league. So again, yes, there's a lot of blame to go around for what happened during the summer of 2020. But again, it's a total false equivalency. And again, yes, free speech. Donald Trump had the right to say that the election was stolen, even though he knew that it wasn't. And he had the right to say a lot of things. But again, just like you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, just like defrauding people, which he did to the American people, that's not free speech. Trying to deny people their votes, that's not free speech. Conspiring against the United States government, that's not free speech. So again, we'll see. I think it's a good case. I think that Jack Smith has laid it out very well. He's focused on things that I think are most pertinent, but the wheels of justice grind slowly. But I hope this case will be tried before the election. But unfortunately, I'm not hopeful. What say you?
Well, we'll see. And I would say the BLM writers, in my perspective, they were a threat to democracy, because part of the balance of democracy is the executive branch and the ability to enforce our laws. And when you have people overtly trying to overthrow the execution of our laws, to me, that is a threat to democracy. You also have them taking over, like CHOP, or Chaz, or whatever they call it, the anarchy zone in a downtown city. You also had some of them in other places attacking government federal buildings. To me, that's a threat to democracy, And so I think we have to think about it that way. I also think the people saying that it was a coup, I mean, that's just that's not true at all. I think it was trying to disrupt federal proceedings, and that the people who attacked the buildings and attacked the police, they should be imprisoned. Absolutely. There's no excuse for January 6th and what happened. None at all. I think that I do think that the connection between a politician's words and how people interpret them and behave, it is a murky area, and I think it's a novel legal theory. But again, we'll see what happens in the case.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Practically Political. Hope your summer is going well. I'm Dave Spencer.
And I'm Carrie Sheffield, and we will catch you next time.